Hello and welcome to Recovery Talks. My name is Dennis Dutra and I'll be hosting this episode. This is a television show made by the recovery community for the recovery community. I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means for me is I haven't touched drugs and alcohol since May 17th, 2011. As a result of that, my life has become considerably improved. Today's guest, George O'Toole. I'd like to welcome you, George.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that means for me is that I haven't had any reason to use or abuse drugs or alcohol since July 27th, 2010. And because of that, my life has become wonderful. The things that I'm eligible to do today in recovery, pay bills, taxes, vote, go see a doctor, live life as a normal person would live. And it's all due to recovery. And recovery is possible for anyone, no matter how old or how young, as long as you're willing to seek it.
I can definitely identify with that, George, as you know. And I would just like for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be here.
I started using drugs and alcohol when I was a young guy, like 8 years old. My father owned a bar, and it was always around. It was available to me, and I would go into alcohol, and by the time I was 16, I believe, now that I look back, that I was a full-fledged alcoholic by the time I was 16. Drugs would become a part of that by the time I was like 17. My life became unmanageable, and at the time I thought my life was totally manageable. I thought it was everybody else. I'd get arrested and I'd blame the other person that I was with. It was everybody else's fault but my fault, okay? I didn't know how to feel, and I didn't know how to socialize. The only place I became comfortable was in a prison cell. I didn't know how to live on the outside in society. I didn't know how to do simple things, wash clothes. I didn't know how to really pay bills. I didn't know how to run a whole household or shopping or things like that for the longest time. The only time I could survive was when I was in prison. And for a long time, I thought this was normal. I took this as being normal.
Well, I see a totally different person sitting here with me today. I see you on a regular basis, and the person you just described to me is not the person that I know today. Can you tell us some of the things that you did to improve upon yourself and how you found recovery?
Well, I found recovery when I was still in prison, and basically, I got tired of being alone, and I didn't understand what it was, and I just stopped using. But it wasn't enough. I still felt empty, and I didn't know why. I went on to be released from prison, and I would stay clean for the next 9 years. And that was 5 years inside and 4 years outside. And during that time, I learned about 12 steps programs, and in those 12-step programs, that helped me a lot. But also during that time, I put myself on a pedestal where, okay, I got this, I had so much time clean that I didn't need to do the things that were asked of me or recommended that I do. And as a result of that, I turned to my old ways. And my old ways are drinking and drugging, and I ended up back in prison. So when I went back to prison, for the first time in my life, I was suicidal. And I didn't, I just didn't want to face another day alive. And I was willing to do whatever it took to end my life. And for some reason, I can't tell you what it was, but there was some reason, somehow, that I was drawn to an AA meeting while incarcerated. And this meeting, this 12-step meeting, had people there that were in recovery. and I had known them from the past, and they accepted me like with open arms. And all I can tell you is that from that moment on, things started to change, and I started to work on myself within the 12-step program.
That's really wonderful, George, and it seems to be doing wonders for you. I wanted to ask you, some of the barriers that you faced coming out of prison, some of the barriers to recovery. What kind of barriers did you face, and what did you do to overcome them? What resources did you use?
Well, when I got out of prison, the barriers that we face, that anybody coming out would face, is looking for employment, finding housing, finding relationships, being sociable. It's a difficult thing to be sociable, and those were some of the barriers. And I didn't feel comfortable in crowds. I couldn't sit on buses in the middle of a bus. I had to sit in the back of the bus, or in the front with my back up against the wall. Those were some of the barriers. And one by one, I was able to find a job. After some time, I was able to find a job. I started working on myself. I started using the program as it's laid out. I got involved in the 12-step program. I put a positive network together of people who were similar to my situation, and who would pick me up and take me out and show me that there was ways to live in life other than using and abusing alcohol and drugs.
There certainly is, and I can totally identify with everything you just talked about. What type of resources were you able to access, and were they readily available to you coming back into society?
Yeah, when I got out, I was able to access the biggest resource that helped me out was what they call the ATR grant, Access to Recovery. And what that allowed me to do was not only go into a program, but also after the program, completion of the program, was get into a sober house and sober living. And it helped me pay for a bus pass. It helped me pay for mental health. It helped me pay for counseling, continued outpatient counseling. All these things added up. It didn't have to come out of my pocket. And at the same time, when I did find a job, I was able to put money away. And as I put money away, I was able to build up money to get my license back, my driver's license. Today I have a valid driver's license.
That's certainly very important. One of the many gifts.
Yeah. And so the resources are there. We just have to look for them. And the biggest thing that I found through this whole thing was that while all the resources are there and people are there to give you the resources, you have to be willing to do the footwork.
Absolutely.
If you do the footwork, and at times it gets discouraging because sometimes you'll get kicked in the face, and it may be 2 or 3 times before something positive actually does happen, but it will happen. You just have to keep jumping up. You have to keep getting up and walking forward.
It certainly will, and I think as long as we don't give up, no matter what, there will be victory on the other side for us. I just wanted to ask you, do you incorporate any other types of programs into your recovery process? Is there anything other than a 12-step fellowship that you utilize to help you sustain your recovery?
Well, I do. Not only do I use the 12-step program, there's a number of things that I use. I use peer-to-peer support. I use recovery resources, books, reading materials. I use CDs, spiritual, whether it be spiritual or just recovery oriented. I personally don't go into bars because I don't belong there.
Well, that's a good idea.
Okay. That doesn't mean at the same time that I can't go to a restaurant that serves alcohol.
That's right.
I just don't sit at a bar. I sit at a table, and I have a family support, that's second to none. That they support me in what I do, where I am in my life, and that is important. But some people don't have that, And if you don't have that family support, you need to find it in other ways, whether it be friends through recovery, and because the support system is crucial to us.
I've also noticed that you do have a strong network of friends in recovery out there.
Yeah.
And going back to the peer-to-peer support, I want to congratulate you on being one of Rhode Island's first state certified recovery coaches.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you on that. Just goes to show how far we can come when we make changes in our lives.
Who would have ever thought?
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the many blessings that we receive in recovery, and I just want to congratulate you again on that, and also ask you what you do for fun. Is recovery fun for you, and how do you make it fun, or how can you make it fun if it's not right now?
Recovery's a blast. It really is. You know, at Anchor, where I do work, we have a number of events. We have karaoke. We have arts and crafts. We have programs that we set up. We have cookouts during the summer. We have a fundraiser coming up this week, as a matter of fact, the Mardi Gras celebration to kick off Mardi Gras season. And it's about recovery for recovery, okay? And it's a bunch of food, fellowship, and fun.
And I look forward to seeing you there.
And, you know, costumes, and we have dances, we have Halloween parties, we have, you know, bowling trips, we have, you know, we're open to anything. You know, recovery is about having fun. It's about learning new things, because, you know, our crazy thinking, at least for me, my crazy thinking was that, you know, getting high or sitting in some crack house was fun, you know. And today I realize that's crazy. That was the insanity.
Insanity,
you know,
of the disease,
and I don't have to
sure.
live with that insanity today.
That's right.
You know?
And as a result, your life has improved exponentially. And I just want to congratulate you on that as well. You're doing a lot of good work in the community. And I would like to ask you if you could tell the folks at home a little bit about what a recovery coach is and what you do as a recovery coach.
Recovery coaches we're peer-to-peer support specialists, and we offer services that somebody looking for recovery, and we can be not only their resources, we have the resources that they might be looking for, whether it be medical, counseling, inpatient, outpatient, sober living. We try to hook them up with the right place that'll fit their needs. Everybody has different needs. Some places accept people that may use Suboxone or may use methadone, and other places don't accept that. And we try to fit everybody to their needs. Some people might need some housing, might need some clothing when they come out of prison, or food. And we try to give them these resources and who's available. And we also had Anchor have a employment specialist who sits with anybody that we refer to him, and he'll help them make a resume, and you know, and show them where all the positions are and how to use a computer and search for a job. And what else do we have? What other services? We have 12-step meetings. We have what we call all recovery meetings. We have women-to-women groups. We have men's groups. We have trauma groups. We have a bunch of things. It's hard to remember everything that goes on. It's a busy schedule, but you know, and as a recovery coach, we'll meet one-on-one. If our clients need us, we meet with them. You know, we'll talk with them on the phone, and we'll be there, you know, as a support, because we are the support. And most of us recovery coaches have been through what they've been through. Okay, and you know, and that's what it's about, is somebody that they can relate to. And that's what we try to be and try to do.
And I think that's very important for people in recovery, because they've been there and they can understand. You can understand and relate to another peer that's going through the same difficulties that you've been through.
Right.
And I believe that they'll tend to take your suggestion a lot easier than they would from a clinician who's sitting behind a desk who never really understands the feelings behind the pain that we deal with in active addiction. Could you tell us a little more about